How long have I got from now? Like 2 minutes. Okay. So basically, I have a kind of ambivalent attitude towards technology. I feel like it's basically a tool to realize ideas, and I think it's very easy to get into technology for its own sake and not actually do anything with it. And I also feel like whatever you need to use, you just use. And I also, this project could have actually been done in the 60s, because this type of espresso machine is like a classic. It existed in the 60s. Tactile transducers, which are on the furniture, existed in the 60s, and I've been quite inspired by. There's an installation by David Tudor called Rainforest. He was the first pianist to play 433 by John Cage, so I'm very inspired by that. And you could basically do the processing 50 years ago as well, by having basically a truck full of different delays and people randomly moving faders up and down. So it's basically a tool, and a lot of people say, oh yeah, use Maximus P, and I say I could never get it to make any sound, and I'm actually really impatient, so I just stopped. And basically, it's very simple. I just put contact mics in the espresso machine and make coffee, and then you get to hear it. And that kind of my ideas from it have developed after the fact, and a lot of it is about kind of providing a way into listening, because it's a very everyday experience. And I think a lot of sound art, people associate it with sitting in a white room, watching someone who looks like they're checking their email, and I think that's off-putting, but sound can be really, really physical and kind of immersive. And the reason I really like it at the moment is I'm getting really into the kind of absurdist angle of it, which is why I'm trying to do it in the stupidest possible places. And it's kind of this balance between just pretending that this situation is completely normal because I'm just making coffee for you, but it's completely absurd at the same time. It's just ridiculous. And I just really like the tension between, it's basically a normal experience. You just order coffee and then it's just a little bit louder, but at the same time it's completely ridiculous. And then sometimes there's this kind of realization that it is between me, and that's my favorite moment. People just start laughing, and then I start laughing, and I just basically can't stop. And I just really like the kind of personal connection between me and the person I'm making coffee for, and I'm getting more into the kind of social element as well, where there's going to be like 2 or 4 people sat around a table, and maybe they don't know each other. And it kind of breaks down the social barriers, because there's this absurd thing happening which takes the focus away from the fact that you're having a conversation with people you don't know. So these days I'm trying to do it in the most ridiculous places. So you go out on a boat to an island, and I've got finance from the Swedish Lottery Cultural Fund to basically do it on a small island. And you basically go out to this island on a boat, and it's like the local cafe, and you just go out on a boat on this island, and then you drink coffee, and you go away. Just completely normal experience. So I'm kind of into that at the moment. That's kind of the angle. And And people ask, how did you come up with the idea? And I basically worked as a normal barista and got really bored. And that's pretty much it. There's a festival called Norway Festival in just north of Stockholm, and it's the best festival in existence, and I recommend you go to it. And it's the main performance area is inside a cavernous old mine building with incredible acoustics. And then there's 3 levels of the mine building. It kind of goes like that, and then like that, and then like that. And this year I've convinced them to let me do it right on the top of the mine building. So basically you climb up this mine building for like 15 minutes, going past these just immense like mining machines that you can't even take it in. And then you get to the top, and then you drink coffee, and then you go down again in the same way. And I want it to be like you just go down the road from your job and go into a normal cafe and order a coffee, and then you hear that, and you sit there and listen. And you go up to the top of a mine building or out to an island and order a coffee and drink it. And I feel like that's a good way to draw attention to interestingness of sound, and then maybe when you're in a normal cafe, you'll just be more aware of what's happening. So that's pretty much it. So this island thing is going to happen in August, and I'm currently doing location scouting, and probably one of the happiest moments in my life was where I bought a pair of waders with, like, fishing waders with Swedish lotteries, cultural funds money, and I was wading out in the sea and looking for a good rock to put it on. And then all of the, like, 10 years of having shit jobs that I hated, and just kind of believing in what I did and never having any money and having to sell equipment twice a year to pay the rent, and it's kind of worth it. Being like, okay, yeah, I don't have a normal job. Great. So I don't work I can't get a normal job, so I can't even get a job as a barista. I've applied for loads of them. So I just kind of have to invent my own thing because no one else will employ me to do anything else. And it's 2 incredibly nerdy cultures, sound and coffee. And I try to stay on the right side of nerdiness for both. And then the main thing I want to say, I think of technology as a tool, and I think maybe people who get into technology for its own sake don't have the ideas to be able to see it as a tool, and I think it should be encouraged that people should think about their ideas first rather than the technology first, because I think it can be a prison, kind of like music theory, that it restricts the ideas you have, whereas it should free you to. And people say, oh yeah, I use Max MSP, and I would say, nah, I use Reaper, all the built-in plugins in Reaper, just gates, compressors, everything. All the processing is done by a freeware plugin from 2006 called KT Granulator. And I used loads of other stuff before, and I just stripped it down to that, and it's such a good combination between simplicity and power, and that's kind of all I need, and I know it really well. So I kind of perversely like telling people at nerdy experimental music festivals that I use this kind of really basic plugin. So it's like, yeah, whatever tools you need to do what you do. That's it, basically. Yeah, thank you.